Okay, quick note before I even start into any of this, I am working on this and hoping that I don't lose power again. That's why this video is later than it should be, because we've had a couple of storms going through and we lost power and then we lost power again and finally it's back, so here's crossing my fingers that we don't have a problem. Anyway, I've been seeing something happen over and over and over for a while, especially on Twitter, unsurprisingly, but also on other platforms. It's become so rampant that even a larger art content creator, I believe his name is Mohammed Agbadi, and I hope I pronounced that right. If not, please let me know in the comments. If anybody else watches him, you will know probably what I'm about to get into. But even he has been a target of it. And to be blunt, there is a rampant problem with people who aren't using AI being accused of using AI in their artwork, and that's what we're talking about today. First though, we're going to discuss the art. Now, I have had a bit of brain rot for a new character that I have been coming up with lately, and this is him in the illustration. His name is Viridis. This particular illustration, it's going to be the process for the character in the illustration because I have not gotten around to doing the background yet because I'm intimidated by the background because I'm still learning to do them. But I really love his character so far. I've posted some of the concept sketches for him on my Patreon and on Blue Sky, and I love him so much. He started out as a Fire Emblem Engage fan character, because of course he did a lot of my characters start life as fan characters for something or other, and he definitely did, but now at this point I came up with an idea for his own story, and I'm having a lot of fun with him, and I hope to be able to share more with you guys as I come up with more for him. But let's get back to the topic. So I've seen this happening so often recently, and quite frankly, I am getting tired of it. AI accusations have been running rampant lately, and I think there are a plethora of reasons for it, to be honest with you, but the single biggest reason that it's happening, of course, is the honestly understandable fear and anxiety surrounding AI. And also, I think that the AI bros pushing and trying to taunt creators with AI also share some of the blame. It's created a near hysteria around the subject and in the community, and the result is people being accused needlessly. Even the accusations themselves are broad and across the board. Too clean and polished of a finished piece? AI! Difficulty with hands and feet? Notoriously hard anatomical features in the community, by the way. And they look kind of funny? That's proof! AI! Rapid improvement? Something that does happen sometimes when an artist has a breakthrough. It must be AI. Experimenting, trying some new style details? Oh, that's not like your usual work, so you must be using AI. It's at the point of getting absurd. Unlike other controversies, ironically, the only ones who don't deal with those accusations as often and as rampantly, they definitely still do, just not nearly as much, are younger or, definitively less skilled artists. This is one of those things where the artists who are drawing the crazy wonky things are not being accused of because they're not skilled enough, and ironically, it's one of those things that gets frustrating. I'm glad they're not being accused of it nearly as much as more advanced artists. I say more advanced because, it takes time and practice. But look, I understand being worried about generative images and AI. It's a problem, and right now it creates a really scary ecosystem. Dishonest parties and bad actors are using it in art, literature, academics, just about every field, and that's a frightening prospect. The uncertainty right now regarding creative pursuits especially is daunting and upsetting, especially for those of us who have put years into what we love, especially before all of this became rampant and a problem. Having it belittled because now people can generate images with no effort, and no, typing prompt after prompt does not count as actual effort, and even being told, because I've been told this before, that we have wasted our time up until now by putting in practice and learning is infuriating. Despite that, though, turning on each other with accusations is something we cannot do. I know it's a problem in the community, but we can't turn on each other. That discourse, that infighting and suspicion of each other, that does nothing but honestly make it easier for the dishonest parties and the bad actors. Creatives monitoring each other constantly, focusing on making sure their art doesn't look like AI, creates issues in the long run. The accusations themselves have almost as much impact in contributing to problems in the community as generative AI and dishonest players. I mentioned a few ways already, but I want to expand on those examples, because when we focus so much on monitoring each other and our own art to make sure it doesn't look too generative, it hinders us. It hinders our creativity. It hinders our efforts. It makes us afraid to try new things, because if we're not good enough at it, or if we're too good at it, then, oh, it's AI. Very polished work has been accused repeatedly of being AI generated instead of actually a proper product of effort, time, and passion. That alone, in my opinion, is a problem, because it diminishes the work put in by an artist, a true artist, just this, a true artist who isn't just typing prompts. Just this attitude that it's so polished that it must be AI because you're just human. It's infuriating because it's so dismissive. On the other side of the coin, any mistakes in an otherwise nice piece or drawing also then gets accused of being AI. It's frustrating because artists, again, are human. All creatives are going to have weak points and areas that they struggle with or just don't enjoy doing. Yes, I know that hands or feet or other anatomy for a while were the dead giveaways that something was a generated image, but it shouldn't be considered to be the only way that to identify AI out of those mistakes, and it also should not be considered to only be the AI that makes those mistakes. On top of that, things like hands and feet, like I said, are notoriously difficult in the community and for most artists. That's why artists who are practicing and trying to get better at them will have pages upon pages of hand studies and feet studies and anatomy studies in their sketchbooks, the ones that they keep for themselves and don't let other people see. It's extremely common knowledge in the art community that hands can be a problem to figure out. Heck, in an older drawing of mine, it's not on YouTube, it was posted on my personal Facebook ages ago, but still. The main drawing looks fantastic. I still look back at it and I really like it. It has good shading, it has really decent, it's really good work. At least in my opinion, especially for how I drew back then. But when you look at it, one of the hands is straight up on backwards, because it was a ballerina pose and I got myself confused about which way the hand should go because I'm an idiot. But general mistakes like that are normal and human. Just because a hand is wonky or maybe an ankle doesn't look like it connects correctly to the foot, that's not necessarily always an indicator of AI, especially because, frankly, generated images have been getting a lot better at the hands and feet. They have been. It's not a reliable way to tell anymore just by that, unless it's like somebody's got way too many fingers or something crazy that is stupidly out of left field. But beyond that, there's rapid improvement. That's also something that is not automatically an AI indicator. I think one thing that people who create can attest to is that sometimes, especially if you've been studying or focusing or consuming certain things, sometimes we have legitimate breakthroughs. There are times that something finally just clicks. We recognize a mistake and how to fix it. Or we experiment with a new technique and it just works for us and our art. When this happens, it often sparks a period of focus and intense creativity where that initial improvement gets an opportunity to continue and become, frankly, a leap in skill level. it happens. Like when I stop some of my old art, I haven't put it on here. I'll have to showcase at one point. A lot of my art for a long time, for a few years, the heads were upside down egg shapes with chins so sharp that they could cut glass. But I finally got past that with a how to draw book that my fiance had when we were kids. And I got past it and it was like a breakthrough. Combination of that and watching Naruto and trying to emulate the style. I got past that and it was an absolute breakthrough, and it was a full leap in my skill set. And it happens. It happens often. And more frequently than, honestly, other people think. People who aren't actively creatives don't realize that because they haven't had those. They haven't had the experience. And as a result, the improvement with how sudden it comes on and how intense it is, it gets assumed by people to be AI just because it happened too fast. Now, the last example I want to talk about regarding this is honestly style changes. When an artist deviates from their established or quote-unquote normal style, the AI accusations come pouring in. This is so frustrating because style tweaks and changes are completely normal, and they're a thing that happens especially for a developing artist, but even in really established and long-running artists, because no matter what, you're always learning. Even artists who are long established and often stick to a specific style publicly likely have differences in the way they make things look in their personal art, because they know that the stuff they're putting out publicly, people expect it to be a certain way. And so they maintain that, but their personal art may look completely different because their own tastes may have changed. Creatives tend to experiment by nature. We do. We want to try new things and learn new techniques. Seeking out new crafts, hobbies, and things to do is almost an inherent part of who we are. That tends to be why, at least in my experience, people who create often have like 15 different active hobbies at any given time. I can use myself as an example. I might be drawing, writing, doing watercolor, reading, listening to a book, crochet, learning to knit, doing different crafting. There's so many different things because I want to learn how to do these different things, because not just because I enjoy them, that's the primary reason. I enjoy them and I want to learn how to do them myself because I am personally, the definition of that person is just like, I can do that myself, and possibly ruins things, but I do give it a good old try. But we just want to learn these new things because as we do, it's like the way that you feel things when you crochet. It's allowed me to figure out a bit more for my more refined works, how to do different textures in different fabrics. Because something about knowing how to feel it helps me to know how to portray it and draw it a bit better. Watching other people create things and trying out new style details because that looks really cool, I wonder how that would look with my art. That is how we expand. You learn new techniques in painting that might be good for simplifying things in a drawing, especially for backgrounds. Whenever you learn to make things, you see how things are constructed. We learn these other hobbies and we have these other interests, and then inherently they impact our art because of how we experience them and the knowledge we gain from them. And I do think that is part of why creatives are so driven to experiment and try new things. I know it's part of it for me, but also just a genuine curiosity about the world and how things work. Those have always been big deals for me. But simply put, changes and deviations from their norm doesn't automatically mean an artist is using AI. Look, I know I said it, but I know the current climate for creatives, and I mean of many different types, because now it's creeping more even into the author space and crochet pattern space. I've seen so many issues with crochet patterns being generated and they don't work. They don't come out to a proper end product, especially not what's advised. You've got the images being used for marketing. It's scary and it's a problem. And it's becoming even more scary and even more uncertain. I know it is, but we can't give up. We also can't turn on each other Or honestly, we're doing the work for the bad actors of tearing everyone else down and breaking their spirits. And also putting so much focus on bigger artists who might, big stress on might, be using AI for something that it makes it easier for the actual bad actors and dishonest people to slip through the cracks and go unnoticed. It creates a big problem. I think pitting ourselves against each other, it desperately needs to stop. But what do you guys think about it? I really want to hear your opinion. Do you think the way things are going needs to change? And that there is such a thing as being too diligent? Because while we should be wary and make sure that we keep an eye out for it, I think it's getting to a point of having the opposite effect. And that's a problem. Do you guys agree? Do you guys disagree? I would love to know in the comments. I want to, now keep it civil. I will not have any actual, discourse and people fighting in the comments. But I do want to know what your opinions are. And thank you guys for sticking with me through this discussion. And I wanted to say that with school coming up again, I do want to try harder this year to try and keep up on my content, even with my schoolwork and my job. But I hope you'll bear with me on some of that, especially because I think I mentioned it in my last one about priorities, that I am trying to work on illustrations for a children's book with someone else, although I may need to reevaluate whether or not I'm biting off more than I can chew on that. But I appreciate everyone sticking with me. I appreciate everyone so much for watching, and definite appreciation to my Patreon members. You know, it doesn't matter whether you're a paid member or a free member. I don't care. I'm just happy to have you here and have you interested. It means a lot. But I will see you guys next time. Bye!